This is Getting to Know with Beth England. Beth, thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Just some nice questions to get to know you here. First up, when did you know you wanted to be a footballer?
Oh, I've loved football ever since I was a little girl. I grew up playing football on my estate with my sister at my grandma's house, and it was one of our friends that we used to play on the street with that invited me and my sister to join his boys' football team, and literally just loved it ever since I was about 6 years old.
It's funny that you say you played for a boys' football team, because I feel like now girls growing up play for girls' teams, but probably when you were coming through there wasn't those opportunities.
Yeah, no, there was literally no girls' teams around when I started playing, so yeah, I played with a boys' team called Junior Tykes until it got to the age where girls were no longer allowed to play with boys anymore, and luckily I then got scouted to go to an all-girls academy, so if you weren't within certain regions it was quite difficult to get into girls' teams, but yeah, luckily I managed to get into Sheffield United Centre of Excellence. Kind
of related, who was your footballing idol growing up?
Oh, Steven Gerrard, no questions. He was everything to me, and he still is. I absolutely idolise him. Yeah, I just loved everything about him and watching him play.
Ever had the chance to meet him?
I've not, and that is one dying wish I'll ever have, is just to meet him one day and shake his hand and just be like, okay, I can die happy now.
I feel like we need to make that happen.
Yeah, I've got a signed shirt of his to a friend, but I've never met him. So.
Okay, that's next on the list.
Yep.
Have you got a favourite tattoo?
Yes, which everyone knows I'm obsessed with my dogs, and my favourite tattoo is of Buddy right here.
When did you get that?
I had it done about 2.5, 3 years ago, so it's fairly new, but...
You've got quite a collection, so you kind of went, how long ago did you start?
I had my first tattoo when I was 18. I'm obviously 30 years old now, so I've had...
Just add along the way?
I've added quite a few along the way, yeah. I think I've actually lost count at this point.
Do you just decide, right, I want to get that, and then just go, are you quite impulsive with it, or do you think about them for quite a while?
No, I'm not impulsive. I would say about 90% of them on my body all have a meaning. I don't get random ones for the sake of it, but some of them are just... have somewhat of a meaning, and I just really like the design, or like I'll have an idea and I'll get them to make the design and we just go from there.
Love that. Okay, I heard that you worked in a fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
So tell me the strangest thing that happened to you when you were working in the fish and chip shop.
Well, if it weren't stopping fights, I had hot food thrown at me whilst trying to break up a cat fight. Women were always the hardest to break up compared to men, because they just throw punches, but the women would grab your hair, throw food at you.
All in a fish and chip shop?
Yeah, all in a fish and chip. I worked night shifts in Barnsley Town Centre, so it was a bit lively at 3, 4 a.m. when people were getting a bit hangry for their food.
Do you ever go back now and think that's where it all began?
Do you know what? I do like going back on that street, but unfortunately it's shut down since I left, so there's no more food fights or cat fights for me to entertain.
That's sad, a bit of nostalgia for you. If you weren't a footballer, what would you be doing?
I've always wanted to be a lawyer and help people, so I have got a law degree.
Wow.
And I would like to continue just pushing for more rights for women. When I went on loan to Liverpool, I started my degree through Open University. It took me 4.5 years. I did it part-time alongside playing. So for the last 2 years, so I was away at the Euros, and then I was away at the World Cup last year, so I've missed my graduation for the past 2 years.
Pretty good reasons to miss it, to be fair.
I was like, right, okay, I want this picture done. I want it in my mum's house up on the wall, so finally getting that moment.
You can have that alongside the Euros and the
my
World
other
Cup.
2 sisters have both graduated, so it's just so it's with them. That's all I want.
Completes the trio.
It completes the trio, exactly. Yeah.
You touched on dogs earlier. What's your favourite breed of dog? What breeds are your dogs?
They're golden retrievers.
Okay, so
yeah,
is that
I would
your
say
favourite?
that's probably my favourite.
Why have you gone for golden retrievers? They're just so cuddly and
I just
lovely,
love them.
aren't they?
So it was one of my old teammates who she had a dog, and I always wanted my own dog. I've grown up with different breeds of dogs, and as soon as I locked eyes on him, I was like, that's the dog I want. I just knew, and I got basically a carbon copy of him, and it's the best decision I've ever made.
I feel like a lot of your teammates, they have dogs as well. Do you ever go on like dog walks together?
I live quite far away, so it's quite hard to meet up, but a few of the girls do go on little walks, and it's really nice to see.
You said about your sister, you have a twin, don't you?
Yeah, I've got a twin sister and an older sister as well.
Okay, so what's your favourite thing about being a twin? You can give a pro and a con.
A pro and a con. A con, I would say, as much as I love seeing it now on other kids, I would say a con was that we would always get dressed the same or compared. In school, it was always, well, Laura can do this or Beth can do, so it was a comparison that I hated. But the best thing about being a twin is that I was never lonely, and I always had a best friend next to me growing up.
A career highlight. It can be playing for England, or it can also be here.
Other than making my debut for England, I would say playing the World Cup final last year for England.
Talk to me about that, kind of the lead up to it and the day itself.
It was strange because obviously there was a time difference being in Australia, so we didn't really know what noise was going on around everything. You're in your own little bubble, and it's like you just treat it as a normal game, which sounds so simple, but I think it was a case of this is the biggest stage. Like, the nerves more kick in when you get to the stadium and you hear the fans and the crowd, but it's just about, yeah, just keeping as calm and as level-headed, whether that's, I don't know, listening to your own music taste or a podcast, whatever people need to get in the zone, and you just get on with it like it's any other day.
Final one then. What is something about you that nobody knows?
I would say that I used to play county badminton.
Very good.
Yeah.
So if it didn't work out in football...
Yeah, do you know what? I love badminton. I keep telling the girls we need to go and play, but yeah, that's how I'd probably go with.
Well, thanks so much for joining us. That was Getting to Know with Beth England.